taking us home tonight. Winner twice this year. All right? Twice. In April for The Joker and in June for The Grudge. Mr. Maxie Jones from Girls Point. Give him a big round of applause. Maxie, take us home. Let's go. Pop it up. Let's go.
So in my first 2 years of college, I partied just a little bit too much. So after achieving a 0.067 GPA, while I was home on break, I got a letter from the University of Buffalo telling me, you need a hiatus. So I stayed out of school, and I came back to University of Buffalo 3 years later. And when you return 3 years later, everybody you know has graduated or they've gone on someplace else, and maybe only a few people are left that I could remember, and then there were all these other new people. And when I got back to the school, word started spreading around campus. Yo, did y'all hear? Max is back and shit. Well, that was among the black people, which is like 3% of the campus. But word was spreading, and you know, you get all these new people who are like, yo, who does this guy think he is anyway? And so, especially there was this one guy, his name is Martin, right? A friend of mine named Sandra, who I knew from before I left. I had gone to visit her at her apartment off campus. When I went to visit her, she said, Maxie, I want you to meet my roommate, Martin. So I go to shake his hand, and I could tell he didn't like me. So I was like, what's up with this dude, man? Doesn't he know who I am? And the other thing was, Martin was from Brooklyn, New York. And me, I was from the Bronx. And those two boroughs never really cared much for each other. It was some kind of thing about like which one was the toughest. Actually, I think it was Brooklyn who really had the problem because they were kind of jealous over that whole like hip hop thing, you know? But anyway, Martin had this real problem with me, so you know, I'm visiting with him and Sandra, and all of a sudden the neighbors upstairs started having this party. It was a really wild party. It wasn't just loud music. It was jumping up and down and banging, and pictures were falling off the wall and all kind of stuff. So I asked them, I was like, what's up with the people upstairs? They're like, oh, you know, it's some members of a fraternity who they got a problem with having black people living beneath them. So they're trying to make us move out. Now, I could tell they didn't want to be confrontational or anything. So I was just kind of kidding around. I was like, I got an idea. Let's go down to the basement and pull out some fuses. That'll end their party. So Martin goes, yeah, why don't we do that and shit? So I was like, hold up, this dude, he's trying to punk me or something? So I was like, well, fuck it, let's go. So we start headed to the basement. Now, when you're going down in, first of all, neither of us wanted to go to the basement, really. But, you know, we had two boroughs of New York City riding on this thing, you know. So we headed down to the basement. As we get ready to go to the basement, there's this door, and Martin goes, you know, we got to prop this door open because if it slams, we could get stuck in there. So I was like, all right, Martin propped the door open. We get down to the basement. We find the fuse box. We start unscrewing fuses. All of a sudden, you heard click. The lights went out. We kept unscrewing fuses, then suddenly the music stopped. Me and Martin were like, yes! We high-fived each other in the dark and shit. Then suddenly we heard somebody go, what the fuck is going on? We were like, oh shit. So we started running. Now it's dark. We started running toward the stairs, and suddenly behind me I heard, boom, bada boom. Martin fell down and bust his ass, right? My first thought was, sorry, Brooklyn. You lost this one. He was probably like, fucking Bronx, man. So I started heading up the stairs. I was out, right? I started heading up the stairs. Then I got to that door. Then I realized, oh, this door, that if it slams, he gets locked in. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I know we don't really like each other. I don't like this guy. But fuck, right now, you know, it's like, it's me and him against those guys. And the way I grew up, it was like, you know, in together, out together. So just before the door slammed, I kicked my leg back and caught it. I caught the door and I reached and I grabbed open, and just as I reached it, Martin was at the top of the stairs, and I grabbed him by the wrist and I pulled him out outside, and then the door slammed and those guys never saw us. Now, we successfully shut down that party that night. We narrowly escaped the ass whipping. And for the first time in my life, Brooklyn and the Bronx were united as one. So the other day, I got a call from my friend Martin, right? And we were talking, I said, you know, Martin, I think it's really interesting that you and I are actually friends 30 years later, because, you know, that night I met you in your house, I really couldn't stand your ass, man. And he goes, you know, Maxie, I couldn't stand your ass either, man. And tell you the truth, when we were down in the basement, when I fell down, I knew I was going to get my ass kicked, but at least I would have been able to tell everybody what a punk you were for leaving me down there. He said, but no. You had to be waiting at the top of the stairs for a brother holding the door and shit. Now here I am 30 years later having to tell people how to this very day I still consider you one of my best friends. Thank you very much.